So for years, I thought that bread was my enemy. Many of you guys probably feel very, very similar to this. Anytime I would eat any sort of gluten, I felt extremely bloated. My gut was totally ruined. I was tired. And then the worst part is I started to develop a gluten sensitivity. So naturally, I did what many do, and I started, going gluten-free. At that time, so many of my friends were gluten-free. I tried all of these gut protocols. And then eventually I was so desperate that I just completely cut out grains from my diet entirely. And let me just tell you, I am a carb-loving gal, so that was very, very difficult for me to do. But none of those things worked for me, all right? The protocols, the buying gluten-free bread, the just cutting out grains all together. And I really started to heal my gut and shift my gluten sensitivity when I did this one thing. One thing, after desperately talking to my friend who was a nutritionist, showing her all my inflamed elbows, just seeking some sort of help and relief, she literally looked at me and said, well, have you ever tried sourdough? And at that time, sourdough was not this trendy thing, okay? I had in fact never even heard of it before. So of course, naturally, I was intrigued. Honestly, I was just so desperate for any sort of solution to this problem that I was kind of all ears and was like, tell me what I need to know. And so I was then introduced to sourdough, and it has quite literally changed my gut and my life. So quite literally, sourdough healed my gut and drastically improved my health. And the breaking point came when I realized that I was avoiding bread, but I wasn't actually getting any better, right? I was still tired. I was still bloated. I was still inflamed. I still had crazy rashes all over my elbows. And when I started really digging deeper, I realized that it wasn't just the gluten that was the problem. It was what had been done to our bread, right? Most store-bought bread is extremely rushed. Flour is bleached, the commercial yeast is used to speed up the whole process. There's little to absolutely no fermentation, which means our guts are really left to do all of the heavy lifting. And so that was truly the light bulb moment to me when I realized, okay, maybe bread isn't the bad guy. Maybe I need to do a better job at looking at the process, right? My friend had already mentioned sourdough to me, and I had stumbled across an article about traditional bread making, the kind that was made with this wild yeast and lactic acid bacteria that my friend was telling me about. And it started talking about how historically bread took hours or even days to make. And this slow process, what we now call sourdough, had absolutely nothing to do with health trends. It was about, honestly, survival. Our ancestors knew that letting the grains ferment made them more digestible and more nourishing. And so here's where the science really started to blow me away, right? Let's talk about the gluten breakdown, because this is what actually makes it to where I have no sort of sensitivity to this. The wild yeast and bacteria in sourdough literally pre-digest much of the gluten before it even reaches our bodies, okay? And because it's fermented, sourdough has a lower glycemic index, meaning no sugar spikes, and for me, no weird crazy energy crashes. And the beneficial bacteria actually feed your microbiome, which is directly tied to your immune system and your digestion. So after my friend telling me reading this article, I thought, heck, I have to try this. So I got a starter and I made my first loaf. And the first time I ate it, nothing happened. Nothing happened, meaning I had no bloat, no fatigue, I had no rashes that popped up. It was just bread, like real bread that my body was actually okay with.
Hey. Wake and bake.
No. Ooh, that did great.
Does it look good?
Yeah, it does. Look at that.
It looks real good.
Yeah, come get a close up.
Ziggy, what you think, dude?
No. Look at that. That's awesome.
Look at this. Multitasking. Just so you guys know, Ziggy would not let me hold him. Everybody thinks I'm lazy around here.
No. So let's finish the story, right? Week 1, my digestion felt a lot calmer. Week 2, my energy started returning. And by week 4, I realized that I hadn't had that bread bloat or that leaky gut feeling in over a month. Over time, I went from being gluten sensitive to enjoying bread daily without any symptoms. I even ate bread for 30 days straight, and I felt better than I had in a really long time. And the most surprising part is my skin started to clear. My mood improved, even my cycles became more regular, because gut health, you guys, isn't just about digestion. I realized that it impacts everything. Now I bake twice a week. I use sourdough for pancakes, pizza, biscuits, focaccia, even desserts. And honestly, my gut has never been happier.
Tell me what you like. Please tell me what you like.
So maybe you find yourself having a similar story to me, right? Maybe you've struggled with some gluten sensitivities and you've tried everything. You've given up a lot of things. But here's why sourdough might actually work when other options failed, because time is the secret ingredient, all right? Real fermentation, it cannot be rushed. And that's the difference between having digestion ease and inflammation. And I found that so true. When I would buy, bread that had not had that long fermentation, that's when I would immediately start to see all the old issues come back again. And quality actually really matters. So if you're gonna buy an unbleached flour like what I'm working with here, make sure it's organic, right? Or use a whole wheat like I experimented with earlier with that bran and the germ intact, because it's gonna be far gentler on your gut than any sort of refined white flour. And then one thing I love to always remind people of is that it's a living food, right? Sourdough is just full with beneficial microbes that literally help heal and balance your gut microbiome. So between eating sourdough literally almost every day, eating fermented vegetables, these living foods changed so much. They really gave me my health and my gut back, because it's not just bread at the end of the day, right? It's a way to just kind of reset your system, because when we can switch from processed breads to sourdough, you're removing the preservatives, you're removing the conditioners and the additives that your body doesn't really recognize. And I love to just speak on this because so many people think sourdough is just this trendy thing and everyone's hopping on the train right now. But this isn't just a fad, you guys. It is an invitation to return to the way bread was always meant to be made. There is something so special about being in my kitchen and my hands in the dough and just doing things the way my ancestors did them. If I could go back and tell myself 3 things that I wish I was in the thick of my gut issues, it would be: don't fear food, right? Fear the process that stripped food of its nourishment. This is not the wrong way of doing things. And healing doesn't always come from cutting things out. For me, if I felt bad, I would just cold turkey quit something, and I just always thought that that was the solution. But sometimes it's about adding back in the right things. And to be patient, healing my gut has been a very, very slow journey. But as I started adding in this long fermentation sourdough, and as I started eating, fermented vegetables every day, and I started making my own kombucha and kefir, every single one of those steps helped me restore my gut health. So I encourage you all, just be patient, right? If you're in a place right now where bread feels like the enemy and you're ready to just cut it all out and give up, I hope just sharing my story with you gave you hope. I really encourage you to try making real sourdough. Feed it slowly, bake with intention, and just wait and watch what happens. I've made so many beginner-friendly resources for anyone who wants to try them, so you can check them out in the description below. But I hope you enjoy the rest of this vlog where we are just being intentional in the kitchen and making a week's worth of slow fermented sourdough recipes. These are a lavender and honey infused sourdough scone. You guys, let me tell you, these things were amazing. You can find the full video recipe along with some herbal infused ice cubes in a fun little community that we created called Willow and Hive. Make sure you check out the description if you want some information about that. But it's a cozy place of the internet that I promise you're going to want to be. If you want to start baking whole foods from scratch, you want herbal remedies, you want to live intentionally and seasonally with the rhythms, it's something we've been working on for the last year, and you can get a sneak peek and become a founding member. So make sure you check out the information below. But now let's get on to making some sourdough pizza because the girls have been begging for it. I've harvested the last of the tomatoes here. It has just been a wild summer, and the girls were begging me for it. So I thought, you know what, let's make up some homemade marinara sauce, some basil pesto, and let's make some delicious pizza. If you want the recipe for that, make sure you check back next week because we are going through a week of just preserving and eating. It's gonna be so great. But just know that when you pursue a life of healing and restoration, no matter what it is, invite your family in on the process. My kids knew something was up, right? Mom had no energy. Mom wasn't feeling great. They could see actually the effects of what I was doing, how it affected my body. And so when I started to make the decision to do something differently, I didn't shut them out on the process. I extended an invitation for them to come join me, for them to also have those memories and know the food is intentional. Food is slow, but food is a place that allows all of us together and to do it together. So I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this video, and yeah, here's to your gut healing journey. It's never too late to say yes and start that process today.
Hey, Charlie's worse than God.
Okay, I'm gonna have y'all get started, and then I'm gonna have to look really
Boy, this is where a stand mixer would come in handy.
Make that
a little flour. Now I made it too wet.
Char, get her some
Yeah, I
flour.
just need a little flour. Oh, okay, way too much. So just sprinkle a little. A little more.
I washed your hands twice. Didn't. If you have leftovers,
You want frozen?
yeah. Have two leftovers for Charlie and me.
Okay.
Those magic
Dig it
hands.
tonight.
Who needs a hand mixer?
When we have these.
Mm-hmm.
just pat it down. But are we gonna mix these together or just gonna be tiny pizzas?
Do you like a lot of sauce, babe? It's good.
Is this your best day for you?
Yes.
You barely can. Mom, all you can see is the olive. That looks good.
So let's take a minute and talk about the reality of store-bought sourdough. So many times I'll tell this transformation story about how I healed my gut and literally got all of my gluten sensitivities to disappear in a matter of 30 days. And that's usually followed up by my friends saying, well, I buy sourdough from the store and I'm not seeing the same results as you. And so I want to talk about this because most sourdough, if you're buying at a grocery store, is fake sourdough. Now, you might have a lovely local bakery, which we do here in our town, and it's authentic, real sourdough. But most of the sourdough that you see at the grocery store is actually a yeast-based commercial bread that they just add a flavor to give it that wild, tangy flavor. But it's not long fermented. There's nothing, honestly, sourdough about it at all. Therefore, it has none of the health benefits, which is probably why you're not seeing any of the results from a wild fermented, long fermented, true sourdough. If you have been dealing with any sort of gluten sensitivity, any sort of leaky gut issues, just not feeling optimal in your own body, I have been there. And so I cannot encourage you all enough. Try making your own sourdough starter. You might just be like me and get completely hooked and then be 5 years in on this journey convincing all your friends to do the same. All right, friends, so if you want this amazing, gut loving, fantastic, your family's gonna love you forever and ever bread, it's really simple to create and make and become a part of your rhythm. I know when I first started, I seemed so overwhelmed, and now I don't even think about it. I don't even think twice about it. It's just a part of the daily rhythm of my home. But you first need a good starter. It is kind of the backbone of your sourdough journey and the backbone to your gut health, right? I like to view the sourdough starter as the engine in your car. And if anything else is messed up, you always kind of got to reverse back to the engine and make sure that it is optimal. So I have a really, I think, beginner-friendly recipe on how to make a sourdough starter from scratch. You can check out the video here if you're a visual learner, or if you just want the blog, I'll link it down in a blog post. And if you're like, I don't actually have time for any of that, my sourdough starter is 12 years old, Otis, and he ships straight to your door. So I'll put all the information for that down below. But let's cut in and see how these turned out. So when I started baking sourdough, I was certainly not experimenting with flours. I literally just wanted to learn the art and the skill of sourdough. So that started out looking like using all-purpose flour. Then I started playing around with bread flours. Now I'm making my own whole wheat loaves, and this is actually a pumpkin flour. The more you can experiment with those nutrient-rich flours, or you can mill your own flours, you're gonna have even more access to all of the nutrients available in sourdough. So this is my first time baking with this flour and a loaf of sourdough anyways. So we're gonna see how the old gal turned out. Wow, it tastes like fall.
Rub it in.
Way better. No, that was going to. It's really nice. You want a bite?
Of course.
Hang on.
You'll save me a bite.
That's really good. Like, that is so much better than I was expecting it would be.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it is. I'm like really, really stoked about that.
Wow.
It's green. That's so fun. It's like subtle, but it's not like really, really nutty, but it's got a lot of great benefits because it is pumpkin flour, and we know pumpkin has a lot of great benefits. It's pumpkin seed flour. So they milled down the pumpkin seeds. They were roasted and milled.
Yeah, that is so good.
It's fantastic.
All right, I get that big piece then.
This one. Cheers.